Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins. Welcome to Financial Lovemaking, where we talk about love, life, money, and everything in between. I am here with my buddy, my partner, my co-host, the entertainment director at Ebony Magazine, Miss S. Tia Brown. How you doing today, Tia?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing really well. You told me that there was a crazy thing about some more reality TV stars going to
Uh,
prison. What's up with that?
I know. So, for those of you who don't know, I am a reality TV junkie, have no intentions on going to rehab, and I have a vested interest in most of my favorite shows' characters. And one of the things that's really been making headlines lately is Teresa and Joe Giudice from The Real Housewives of New Jersey. They were recently sentenced to, Joe received 41 months in prison and Teresa received 15 months. Now, for those of you who don't know about The Real Housewives of New Jersey, this is a show on Bravo. It's part of a huge franchise. And Teresa and Joe were really known for their cavalier spending. They have 4 daughters. They love to shop. They built a super big house. They were always flipping all of these different types of businesses. And a lot of times people speculated, specifically cast members, like, where is this money coming from? Because, they can follow the paper trail a little bit more closely than the average person. And they were convicted of fraud. 39 counts of fraud, from tax fraud to falsifying loan documents, all different types of things. And again, they have 4 young daughters under the age of 13. And one perk I can say, and out of all of this, is that the judge has allowed them to serve their sentences staggered. So Teresa will go to jail. Well, it was sentenced to 15 months, so she'll go first, and then her husband will go once she completes her sentence. But, it's just a really sad story. A lot of people believe that the pressure to appear as if you're financially balling and you have this great, fantastic life contributes to a lot of poor behavior for reality TV stars. We know Apollonita from The Real Housewives of Atlanta went to prison recently for fraudulent behavior around finances as well. And he said that it was really hard for him to kind of compete with what the societal expectations were for him being on the show. Not an excuse, just what people are saying, right? So, it's really sad. Now you have this family that's going to be broken up. You have kids who are dealing with losing the ideal family that they had with both parents in the household. And we don't know what the future holds for the family, because financially they have restitution to pay. Emotionally, this is a draining thing on the marriage. And we know that the children are going to be emotionally damaged as well. So what do you think, boys?
Well, from what I understand, number one, I think the husband didn't file taxes for 5 years straight, from '04 to '08. That's bad. Don't do that. Don't try this at home or anywhere else. Also, I saw the restitution is about $400,000 or something like that, which
Right.
is a lot of money. What I'm seeing here, are a few very very simple, very interesting lessons. Not to say that we're just so much better and so much smarter than these other people. We're able to just rise above the temptations that led them to make these choices. But there's something to learn here, right? Number one, obviously file your taxes, but even deeper than that, when you get into situations that involve federal money. That's when you're facing a lot of prison time. I live in Chicago, and there are a lot of very prominent politicians, respected members of the elite community here, that are on their way to prison for federal charges that involve money. And so you have to be extremely careful in that space, right? And especially since the crash in '08. The government's finally scrutinizing things like loan applications and stuff like that. Now, what's interesting is that sometimes people don't know financially what's underneath the water until someone drains the lake. And what I mean by that is, before the '08 crash, there were a lot of people doing a lot of things that were shady financially. They were filling out mortgage applications and just, saying, I work for Daffy Duck and make $8 million a year as a waitress. And the banks were accepting this information because they wanted to make the loan. But here's what happens. When you can't make those payments and they come back, they're going to scrutinize every little thing you put on your application.
Absolutely.
So if you padded your income, then you've officially lied on an application, which means that they can send you to jail for that. And it seems like they kind of got caught up in that. And what's really scary and sad here is this whole temptation you mentioned of kind of keeping up with the Joneses. I'm a celebrity. I'm supposed to be balling. I'm supposed to take care of all my friends. My friends want to borrow money from me. I can't say no because then they'll know that I'm having financial problems, right? That financial Superman complex or Superwoman complex that we can get, it just seems that it can be so overwhelming for people and lead you down just this ugly rabbit hole from which you cannot escape. And that's what I'm really seeing here.
Absolutely. And on both reality shows, The Real Housewives of New Jersey and Atlanta, you have a group of people who can't help but be compared to each other, right? So on The Real Housewives of New Jersey specifically, you had the Manzos, who are a family who had a huge catering business. They had a catering hall where they made probably millions of dollars a year. And this wasn't money that was made overnight. They've spent decades building this business. And then they had other family members who had complementary businesses. So they were doing well. And it's very easy for Joe and Teresa to feel like, okay, if I am socializing in this set, I want to be able to prove that I can hold my own. The bad thing is the way you go about doing it. And so this isn't just a lesson for people who are on reality shows. Obviously, this happens to everyday folks. You see your friends with the big house and you want to get the big house, or your friend has the new car, you want to get the big car. Or your friends are sending their kids to this private school, and it's kind of like, by any means necessary, I want to try to accomplish the look. At the end of the day, the look doesn't matter. And that's, go ahead.
No, no. I was going to agree with you and say that this excessive materialism that's being constantly promoted to, and it's really being promoted to bolster consumerism, because
Absolutely.
a big chunk of the economy is dependent upon you going out and taking every penny of your paycheck and spending it to buy things that are otherwise meaningless to you, but they become meaningful because they're marketed to you, right? And marketing does work. I've been teaching in business schools for a long time. Marketing works, people. So don't let people talk you out of your money or talk you into wanting something that you really don't want. And you can still enjoy life. You can still enjoy your money. You can have some of the finer things, but everything kind of has to be done in moderation. And what I really see here is a couple that really kind of got what I would call financially drunk. And not only did the husband happen to have a substance abuse problem, which
I knew you were going to do that.
That's a whole other. Well, me how I talk. You know how I feel about substance abuse.
Right.
Substance abuse makes you do things that you're going to regret later on. It could be sexually, it could be financially, it could be otherwise. And so, this situation. What I see here is, number one, he did have this drinking problem, which came up in court, but I'm not going to really go into that. But then you talk about just being financially drunk, where you're to the point where you engage in this kind of gluttony, and you don't know where this is going to end for you. And what's unfortunate is that once they declared bankruptcy in '09, that's when I think the roof started to crumble for them. That's when people started going back and
nice after that.
Exactly, right.
Right.
And that's what happens. It's almost like if you have a wild, crazy party at a frat house and everybody's doing all kinds of crazy, illegal stuff, but then let's say somebody dies of alcohol poisoning, then they're going to go back and they're going to carefully evaluate what everybody did that night. And you don't want to be the person who was standing on the table dancing with a lampshade on their head or doing something that that could get you in trouble. So I just think that financial sobriety is something that we should all embrace. It's because they want you to stay drunk. They want you to give away your money. So don't fall for that.
I agree. Absolutely. I know personally I have a lot of friends who are in the position where they're trying to figure out what happily ever after looks like for them, right? You get to a certain point in your career, you might have a family, you might have a spouse, and then as consumers we're taught that you're supposed to have these other things. So it's a constant conversation that we're all having in our personal lives where people say, well, I haven't made it until I have this car. I haven't made it until I have a house that's this amount of square feet, right? At the end of the day, making it is about being an overall success. In financial lovemaking, we talk about different types of wealth. Wealth is health. Wealth is your having great relationships. Wealth is overall happiness. So don't let the ideals of having materialistic things completely shape what your perception of wealth is. And we see with people like the Giudices, this really was detrimental to their life. And it doesn't mean that for the average person it's going to end in jail time. It can add to a lot of stress and debt that impacts your quality of life because you're trying to keep up with this ideal you have. So my parting words are, remember, define your wealth on your own terms, not based on material items.
That's right. I have nothing else to say. I think you absolutely nailed it. I'm totally done with that, but I agree. Happiness, freedom, and just an overall sense of well-being. That just means so much more than having that nice house on the corner or that big fancy car. I mean, you can
Or
have
the nicer house,
the
or
nice.
the fancier car. Because the
You
thing
know,
is, we Teresa and Joe didn't just have a nice house; they built an estate mansion.
mm,
It's like enough isn't. You have to watch the show. Trust me. Like the house was so big that they couldn't even furnish it properly because their grand living room was probably the size of most people's homes. Right? So, sometimes it's like enough is enough. Don't define your happiness based on, some exorbitant, ideal that you have. Sometimes enough is enough. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Please write in and let us know. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.
bye bye.